Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Business Spotlight. Again, my name is Megan, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Leo Bletnitsky with Healthy Technology Solutions. And so I always love these conversations that we get into because I never know where it's going to go. And so I always encourage you to get a pen and paper or whatever you take notes on because there will be some nuggets that you will want to retain. So, Leo, welcome.
Hey, great to be here with you, Megan.
Yeah, so just, I would love for you to just introduce yourself and your business and really kind of how you got to create this.
Sure. So my name's Leo Bletnitsky, Healthy Technology Solutions, and so this is kind of my third iteration
Mm,
of. So I started off in Northern California as a value-added reseller. We worked with companies. This is before pre-internet. So we worked with companies and we did technology for them and sold stuff and just did consulting. And then in '05, I decided to escape communism and I moved from California to Nevada
yeah.
and kept the same corporate name, which was LBA Networking back then, which because I wasn't very creative, it was Leo Bletnitsky and Associates, and not a great name. So in about 3 years, a little 3.5 years ago, reincorporated as Healthy Technology Solutions, brought in a junior partner. That's really, helped with growing the business and keeping us on track and keeping us really doing a great job for customers.
Nice.
And we did that right before COVID, and didn't really make a difference because same clients, um, or more clients really, because COVID was pretty decent for us.
Yeah.
Everyone needed technology, and cybersecurity even more. And
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I would love to even just start there too about because you've had this business, pre and post COVID. And and so really I would love for you to kind of go into that a little bit more of what were some things that you experienced within your business or even within your clients of that transition, again, pre, interim, and post COVID.
so pre-COVID, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So everyone needs their computers to work. Everything's interconnected. Everyone needs cybersecurity, whether they want to or not. Um, and we work with a lot of healthcare organizations and as well as construction engineering firms. So for them, their data is their lifeblood. And with healthcare, there's also the HIPAA compliance and various state and federal laws that protect that data. So if it gets compromised, it's bad for business, but it's also potentially big fines and bad PR.
Yeah.
So, my goal always in everything I do is to not end up in the news in a negative light. I don't mind doing interviews, but I don't want to be, I don't want the reporters standing outside my house.
Yes.
Um,
You want a
so
5 o'clock news story?
exactly. So pre-COVID, everything was just the way it's always been. Everybody's growing. Everything was kind of going in the right direction. Then COVID hit, and it was about a month of absolutely crazy nonstop work, because everybody was trying to, people were laying people off. So we had a lot of offboarding of employees for customer employees. We had a lot of people moving home, but they didn't have the infrastructure. A lot of these organizations were never set up for remote work, and so they just said, okay, well, Susie has a home computer. She's just going to connect in from that. Well, Susie and Susie's home computer is also used by her boyfriend or husband and kids
Yeah.
and neighbor. And so it's like, okay, what are we introducing to to these environments? And a lot of times we said, no, you can't do this. You're going to have to we have to find alternative ways to securely connect. And and people would say, okay, well, get us 20 new laptops. Well, I can't do that because there's supply chain issues, and the laptops will be here in about 6 months. Uh, so it was kind of it was the worst of all kind of eventualities. Even headsets, like these types of headsets, they were months back ordered.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to be able to properly outfit your staff and our clients, we
Mm.
literally had to sometimes eBay, sometimes, um, hey, what do we have that's like fallen through the cracks in inventory here in the office? But it was a challenging time, but amazingly, because, well, at least luckily for us, our biggest clients were in healthcare and in construction engineering, both considered essential businesses.
Yeah.
Neither one were shut down for COVID. So they all continued working. They all were, still busy.
Yeah.
Maybe not as busy as they'd been previously, but so COVID was actually not a bad time. We actually grew. We've kind of experienced about a 50% year over year growth, except for in 2020 where we experienced a 10% growth. Well,
Well,
10% during COVID is pretty darn good.
yeah.
We counted that as a win. Um, and now post COVID, now that we've realized that it was kind of overblown for most people. Not for a few. I know a few people that really got either, either lost their lives or have been severely, years later, they're still in bad shape. And I feel bad for them. But you know, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
But now everybody, post COVID, at least our client base is growing tremendously.
Okay.
So we're seeing a lot of growth. We're seeing a lot of, we're seeing some mergers and acquisitions. We're seeing growth. Some of the mergers are not good for us because, when a large public company buys one of our clients, we tend to lose them because they have a big IT department. They've got the professional staff to handle the things that we've been doing. But most of our clients are just organically growing. They're adding locations, they're adding employees, which is good for business. They're referring people to us
Mm.
because one of the things I'm really proud of is we haven't had a single major, we haven't had a single breach or ransomware event in our client base in about 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so that I'm very, and I, we're working hard to keep it that way because we're ultimately responsible for with all of our clients.
Mm.
So if they get breached, it means we missed something. Now, are we always going to be 100%? That's not possible.
Yeah.
But if we as close to that as we can be, and we just hope that, you know, that we're good and lucky.
I like that. I like that. So, my next question would be, when looking at all of this, I mean, because everybody was really forced to pivot, right? And try to find solutions to to problems that they didn't know that they had or that they never thought would be a problem for them, right? Such as remote work. So, in that space, coming from like an entrepreneur standpoint, a business owner standpoint, when you were faced with obstacles and challenges that you did not think were ever going to be, what is your advice in that?
Just go with it. It's just like with everything. When something happens, you can go, "Woe is me," and and get depressed about it, or you can go, "Okay, well, here's the new reality. What do I do?
Hmm.
How do I, try this? That didn't work. Oh crap! We try this instead. That didn't work either. Well, let me think about that for a minute. Make some phone calls, talk to people, see what other people did, and then you find something that works.
Hmm.
And then also, if you find something that works, that's not necessarily the best solution either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because constantly reevaluate. Okay, we're doing this.
Hmm.
Why are we doing it this way? And I had my first real boss, my first real job out of college. Um, this guy, great guy. He would lose his proverbial, shit, if I could say that. Um, if he asked somebody, "Hey, why are you doing that?" and their response is, "That's the way we've always done it," and
Uh,
he was just his his head would explode.
yeah.
It's just like, why? Okay, but isn't there a better way of doing this? Well, maybe, but this is the way we've always done it. No, just figure it out. Um, it's kind of like, there's my way, your way, and then there's 14 other ways. And none of them are really wrong,
Hmm.
except for, if my way takes 5 minutes, your way takes 5 days, it's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not efficient. I like that. And yeah, I can definitely echo sentiments with that because for me, efficiency is everything. And it is a process sometimes of finding the most efficient and the most effective ways to go about things and to answer these problems, right? And so with us, with Action Coach, we're big on testing and measuring. Because if you're not measuring, how do you know the efficacy? How do you know the efficiency of it? And how can you fine tune? And I really look at it like the scientific method, right? We have this hypothesis of something that may work, and if we go about it in this way, this is the desired outcome. But there's all these variables. And so we have to test those variables. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I can definitely see some frustration there of like, okay, but we can think of other things, right? Let's just not blindly follow. Let's critically
Mhm.
think and empower. And I love when I see leadership with that mindset. And so, I would love to even just go into that further as far as from a leadership standpoint. What are some of the experiences that you've been through? It sounds like that was a really great experience with a mentor and a leader, and that you learned some things from. And what other types of leaders that have you had in the past that you've also learned some things from?
Not so much in my professional life because I started off as an IT manager, and then I mean I spent some time in the military as well, and there's been some good and bad leaders there.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, and it seems like nowadays, the further up the command chain people are, the worse they are at leadership, and better at preserving their own careers over on the backs of everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, as we saw with like the Afghanistan withdrawal, and no one went to jail for that either. But some failures should result in severe punishment.
Mm,
Most of the time, failing is good because you learn something.
yeah.
But when your failures, as long as your failures don't cost people's lives.
Mm,
Um, but so I saw some good and bad leadership in the military. Here in the Las Vegas area, um, overall, like government leadership has been fairly decent.
mhm,
Compared to where I came from in Northern California,
yeah.
where the government is a mess. And it was a mess 20 years ago when I left, or 19 years ago when I left, and it's an even bigger mess now. So they keep like electing dumber and dumber and people that are damaging everybody's lives even more. Here we've kind of I think we're kind of going in the opposite direction.
Mm,
And I'm hoping that that continues because if you're going to live in California in the desert versus California at the beach, I think I'd rather be at the beach.
yeah.
So let's keep Las Vegas from becoming California. Um, but it's really just a matter of it's people that think outside the box.
Mm,
It's that that enjoy what they do
yeah.
because no matter how smart you are and how good at you are, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be good to be around, and you're not going to be a good leader in that particular area.
Mm,
So everything from some of the folks that I've interacted with that are just really good speakers, that are really good presenters, and just good at getting people excited about whatever topic they're talking about. I look at that and I go, damn, I wish I could do that. Um, there's the people, there's people that really devote themselves to various causes, and people devoting themselves to politics, to nonprofits. And you look at each one of those and you get something from them. You learn something from what they're doing.
mm,
Me, I wear 14 different hats.
yeah.
The primary one being running the business, but I'm on the Nevada Workforce Board.
Mm,
So that's kind of interesting seeing it's like kind of overseeing the spending of millions of dollars in federal funds for worker training and things like that, which at the same time benefits my clients if we can maintain a good workforce here in Southern Nevada, that would be very good.
yeah.
Uh, more good employees means you know business is good,
Yeah.
people grow, and then there's people that can afford to buy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And really,
Um,
that's where our biggest pillar is education. And we really see ourselves as being that education piece for businesses, business owners, and at all different levels, from all the employees, the managers, up to the owners, and being that support.
Mhm.
Because like I had said before we had started this, it's really creating those win-wins, and that because everything is cyclical, whether we realize it or not, or acknowledge it or not. And so it's how can we optimize that, and how can we create those win-wins?
No, absolutely. No, and education is key. And for what we do, sure, we can, no matter how good, me and my staff are with taking care of our clients, computer systems and cybersecurity and and telephony and everything else, the education piece for the staff
Mm,
is really, is the missing piece. I think a lot of organizations are not, are kind of failing at, because you can put all the perfect technology in place,
mm.
but if the employees are going to give away information or make mistakes, and I like to say that every organization has at least one person that will click on absolutely anything.
Yeah,
And sometimes that's the actual business owner, but and
yeah.
we have to nicely explain to them they got to stop doing that. But it's educating everyone within the organization about what to look for, what to not do, where the risks are. And that's from the janitor all the way up to the CEO, and in all reality, the CEO's family,
Yeah.
and the janitor's grandparents. I mean, it really it's everybody. It's absolutely everybody needs to know some of these things.
Oh,
So it's kind of like everyone knows how to use Facebook now.
yeah.
You know, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, Facebook was only for young people. Now, according to my kids, Facebook is only for old people.
Right. You're like, ew, that's never mind. I can't go in here.
Things
What
are
is
con
it now? I don't even know.
yeah, things are constantly changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And even going more into kind of just more specifically what you do, which there is a level of risk that you do help assess for businesses and organizations. And so what is your advice there? What are some things that you guys notice, because you do have that filter that you're looking through, that some maybe earlier businesses don't identify right away, and maybe they're proactive about it instead of reactive?
So it's everything at this point, and it really needs to be looked at from a lens of paranoia. And I say this jokingly and not joking,
Mm,
because it's not paranoia when they really are out to get you.
mm,
And it's like, it used to be when people would say that the they was nebulous. Well, the they is still kind of nebulous, but
mm.
it's organized crime rings all over the world. And whether they're in, Vegas or Chicago or New York, or they're in the Ukraine, Russia, North Korea, China and Iran. I mean, in a lot of those cases, it's their governments that are actually doing it. But if you think about the resource, so you have your stuff, whatever it is you do, you sell widgets, or you're a doctor's office.
Mm.
Um, if you sell widgets, they're really after your bank account. There's not my unless you have the world's best widget and you have a patent on it and no one knows how to make that widget, then that would be, then you'd have to worry about China, the Chinese government paying 1,000 people in a data center somewhere in some basement to actually compromise your systems and steal that so that they can make the widgets and sell it for half the price and put you out of business. If you're a doctor's office, they want everything. They want to be able to compromise your bank accounts, but they also want those patient records, because those patient records are the most valuable thing on the dark web right now.
Mm.
So credit card numbers are like $1 a piece. Medical records are $50 to $200 a piece is what they're going for. So you compromise a bunch of credit cards versus, one doctor's office has typically like 4,000 patients.
Mm.
So you multiply that times even $50, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those organizations are the lowest kind of, lowest hanging fruit,
Mm.
because they don't have staff to do it. It doesn't make sense for an organization under about 200 employees to have a real IT department. So they don't have, typical doctor's office has 20, 30 employees.
Mhm.
there's no possible way they can afford to have a good IT person. They typically either hire a company like mine, or they have the receptionist, boyfriend that comes in after work and takes care of stuff.
Mhm.
Well, and that person might be great at what they do, but when at the larger company that they work full time, they're told by someone in a management position what the priorities are
Mhm. Mhm.
and what the priorities are for that organization. They have no idea what the priorities should be for the doctor's office. They're just doing what they're told. And the people directing them don't have any knowledge. They might be great thoracic surgeon, or pediatrician,
Yeah.
but they have no basis in understanding of what to ask their IT person to do.
Mm.
That's not part of their wheelhouse. So I think a lot of organizations, especially when they're starting, they bootstrap, they want to do everything as cheaply as possible. That can end up costing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And some of these things are actually not even expensive to do. Things like, the multi-factor authentication. Every single important account should have that turned on, and it's free. There's no cost to that.
Yeah.
But that can prevent so many of the problems that the people face. So just even simple things like that, no one tells them that. They have no way of knowing on their own because they are a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, whatever it is that they do for a living. They are, that's what they do. That's what their knowledge is in. And you can't expect, I don't expect my gardener to know about heart surgery. I don't expect my heart surgeon to know about computers or
Yeah.
gardening for that matter, unless it's their hobby.
Yeah.
So, everyone's got their specialization. So they need to go talk to the experts. I made some of the same mistakes when I first started out. Did I talk to a real tax person, real accountant? How do I really structure the business? I just took the advice of people that I knew that may or may not have really understood what would have been best for me.
Mhm.
So you want to talk to the professionals. You want to make sure your company's organized professionally, so you have some kind of an attorney involvement, an accountant, um, you know, and somebody that actually knows technology, and it's not your receptionist, you know, boyfriend's cousin,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Because by the way, when you fire the receptionist because she didn't show up to work for a week,
Yeah.
you just lost your IT person, and they might be the only ones with the keys to the kingdom and the passwords.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
So,
Yeah, no, and that's something we speak into as well, is we do identify those knowledge gaps, because the businesses that we tend to work with, at least with our local firm, is more of the smaller business that
mhm,
is a little bit younger, going into, I would say, like small to medium size. And so that is very much like what you're speaking into, of they either don't have it available to them, financially, to have somebody designated, or maybe they just don't even know that that's something that they should have, and so then they don't know what questions to ask in order
mhm.
to get the support that they need. And so that's something where we really speak into the idea of kind of like your A team. I like to say, creating your external A team. And it is, you have your business attorney, your tax professional, your bookkeeper, your IT support, a coach, mentor. It's all of these key people that do have those can fill those gaps of knowledge, but then also support you in such a way that you are moving forward in a healthy manner where you're not putting yourself at risk, and you can do it even faster, right? Because when we know things, I mean, that's not to say we can't figure it out eventually, but it's, would you like to do it faster and probably cheaper? Because it could potentially cost you more when you don't know, right?
No, absolutely. And but even something we've had numerous times, especially in healthcare, where when we meet with a practice, and the doctor who owns the practice will be like, "Oh, I like doing this IT stuff." Okay, but are you good at it? Oh, I'm okay. All right. Well, what you just spent all day doing that you kind of failed at, we would have done in 45 minutes. And what was your day worth? What are you worth per hour
Yes.
versus what do we charge per hour? So, if and then also, even if we charge per hour is more than they make per hour, I'm going to do it in 1 hour. They're going to do it in four,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
it's still not going to be right. And the same thing, in my own personal life. I mean, I'm smart enough to look at, especially now with Google or YouTube, and see how to fix my toilet or replace a toilet, or or do some kind of do plumbing or electrical work. But do I really want at 2 in the morning, you know, to have to worry that I may have left a little bit too much resistance in the wall and the wires, and to suddenly have a fire?
Yeah.
And by the way, it's going to take me 2 days to do again what they can do in 2 hours properly. Is,
Yes.
there's a risk. There's a risk and reward. Now, can I clean my pool once a week? And do I need a professional for that? Depends on the size of the pool. But, you know, that I can do myself. Not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Safely.
Yeah, but but I mean, it's a give and take. Some people, I can do my own gardening too, because again, nothing is at risk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's where, I like to say too that there is a cost to everything. Some of it's monetary, some of it's time. And so it really is, like you were saying, it's assessing that and saying, and that is even an exercise that we have taken business owners through of let's really nail that down. What is your time worth? And let's look at that. And there can be things that, yeah, maybe you do enjoy doing and you're fairly good at, but this is your area of expertise that you've created a business out of. And so is that really the best use of your time? And sometimes it's okay, so maybe some of the day-to-day stuff, once it's fully set up, yeah, absolutely. If you enjoy it, you have the time available, or you want to create the time, want to go till your heart's content, go do all of those things. But it is really looking at what else? What are you really building? And getting out of right now and looking to the future just enough to say, but okay, but if you're wanting to get here, what would need to be put in place now in order for you to get there in a timely manner for you?
Absolutely. No, and that's something that over the years I've learned, because now I'm actually looking at it's kind of like, even for years, I didn't even look at my books. Hey, there's money in the bank account, must be good. Things must be good. It's really been over the last 10 years, but even more so the last 5 or 6 years, that I'm looking almost at a daily basis. Okay, how are we doing? Are we doing the right thing? Because if you suddenly see a dip in something, or there's or you see a spike, hey, look at this, look at the spike, this must be great. Oh wait, no, that's expenses. um,
I'm like, oh, we don't want that.
so it's just it's knowing to pay attention,
Yes.
and then doing things that, because technology can be a driver, proper accounting can be a driver, marketing, I'm now measuring, what, okay, we're spending X dollars, what's happening with that. And I think it's critical, but you don't know that. The only reason I know how to do any of these things is I go to all these conferences, I talk to peers, and I'm in various peer groups. You get a lot of information from your peers,
Mm,
especially in a non-competitive environment. So we have, a number of peer groups where with companies like mine from around the country, nobody in the local area, so you can really speak freely and exchange information, techniques. Hey, how did you handle this? It's very similar to what you're talking about with the coaching, especially if you're talking about like peer coaching and peer groups. You have non-competitive businesses that do different things, but everyone has similar problems. And unless you have, some people have a big network of people that are business owners. Like almost everybody I know is a business
mm, mhm,
owner. But someone else that maybe was a gardener and now they started a gardening business and they're doing well. Now suddenly they have 25 employees. How
mhm.
many people does that person in their circle is is a business owner? Maybe fewer. So if you don't have those resources and don't have those connections or peers, then you want to find it. You want to find that, because it really is, it's gold.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what we do. So I will definitely echo that for sure, because there's so much power in that, and it really is learning from those people around you, putting yourself in the right rooms, and really noticing what is going to be of value and how can you add value, and letting it be reciprocal in that way. And so that's something we're really big on for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going to networking events, that's not quite the same thing because
Yeah,
some of those people are peers, some of those people work for your peers,
yeah,
and they're just trying to sell something. So
yeah,
you're, yeah,
yeah, exactly. I love it. Well, so to kind of wrap this up, what would you say would be your one biggest piece of advice that you would give somebody newer in this entrepreneurship journey and just that their biggest takeaway?
find some good peers that are where you want to be.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that is, I think that's goal. Learn every day and try to hire people smarter than you. Sometimes it's hard, especially in this day and age. And then what I've always had a hard time with, and what everyone always says, but I've always had a hard time with it. But I know that it's so true. Every time I've not followed this advice, it's bitten me on the butt. Is hire slow, fire fast.
Yes,
That
absolutely. Oh,
that is like,
the big
you
one.
know, yeah. Every single time, like, okay, they promise to get better. They're gonna get no.
Yes, absolutely. That is such a good point, and thank you so much for sharing. And so, are there any key points about your business specifically that you want to share with our viewers? How can they connect with you? All of that.
Sure. So, at Healthy Technology Solutions, our main thing again is to keep our clients functional, and a big part of that now is a cybersecurity component. But it's also, it's the phone system. It's just how is your office set up? Are you running on 10, 15-year-old computers that are about to fall apart? All of those types of things. So, anybody that has any technology challenges, questions, or if they're just not sure that their current provider or their current internal staff are properly taking care of things, we do free assessments.
Nice.
And it's no obligation. We'll go through and we will figure out whether you're on track or whether you've got gaping holes that the bad guys can drive through. And then we may let the business owner make the decision whether they want to work with us or not. But our website is healthytechsolutions.com, or the short website is htsfast.com. So HTS for Healthy Technology Solutions, and fast because we're fast.
Yeah. And I'll be sure to link all of that information and just kind of a brief synopsis of all of that in the description of the video that will be posted onto YouTube and in all through our network and all of that. So thank you.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful. And that was another Business Spotlight.